Hope you brought your appetite, because our next stop on Explore Tulsa involves some barbecue.
Now you're speaking my language, Trish. Oklahoma Joe's all started when an OSU cowboy raised $2,000 to build smokers.
I have a better idea, Stevie. Why don't we let Joe tell his own story?
Great, that gives us more time to eat barbecue.
You know, the first element to having a great smoker is to, number one, make it out of real heavy metal. We always made ours out of 1/4-inch steel and then had an offset firebox. That way you can burn your fire in one area and then you cook in another area utilizing indirect heat and smoke to cook with. That's true barbecue. You can use a lot of different methods to cook with. Number one is burning real wood. Every time you put real wood in a firebox, it has moisture in it. So you're adding moisture into your cooking environment. So you really don't need those water pans like a lot of people use for just charcoal smoking, you know. So that, and then the right type of wood. We cook with pecan wood, 100%. Local pecan. If you want to mess with other woods, my rule of thumb is that any wood that bears a fruit or a nut is great to cook with. The great cooks, I mean the really great ones, these guys, you could give them a 55-gallon drum, cut it in half, and they could cook great barbecue. So technology's good, but it can't beat good old-fashioned ingenuity and knowing how to cook, and it's about technique mostly. But when it comes down to great technologies that have come forward that make it nicer, there's ones you can set a thermostat on. Even though it's not a gas burner, it's got like a little blower that's a forge. So if you keep wood in that, charcoal, lit up, every time it goes 5 degrees below the temperature you want it on, it turns on that little fan, blowing on it just like a forge. When it gets 5 degrees above it, it turns it off. So it helps maintain that perfect cooking temperature. So those are some of the new things that have occurred in really the past 10 years that have really changed the way a lot of people cook. Oklahoma Joe's really started when I was a graduate assistant at Oklahoma State University. You know, I grew up in Okemah, Oklahoma, home of Woody Guthrie, and just raised on a ranch, loved to cook from the time I was a kid, but really I loved welding as much as anything else. So in 1985, I saved up all the money in the world, which was $2,000 back then. I built 12 cookers, went to the State Fair of Oklahoma, and sold all those cookers the first weekend. And then when the fair was over, I'd had orders for 108 more, and that's how Oklahoma Joe's was born in the mid-'80s. To transition into being a great cook, I first of all started going to barbecue cook-offs. So really the first year I started Oklahoma Joe's, I started going to barbecue competitions. The first one I ever went to was the T-Town Barbecue Cook-Off when it was in downtown Tulsa. And it was just a phenomenal experience. I went to this, there were probably 40 teams down there. They were all much more seasoned at cooking than I was. And lo and behold, I won a 3rd place in brisket and a 5th place in poultry, and you would have thought I'd won a world championship the way I hooted and hollered, you know. So that's what really hooked me in doing competition barbecue. And since then, I've been fortunate enough to have won the Jack Daniels World Championship, the American Royal, the World Pork Barber Colossal, the World Brisket Cook-Off, you know, best sauce on the planet, the American Royal, best dry rub on the planet. So I love cooking. We're kind of sandwiched in the middle. The great barbecue belt really is in Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and then it kind of goes the Gulf states down through there. But realistically, you've got the sweetness of Kansas City barbecue, kind of the tangy, vinegary aspect of Texas barbecue. We're right in the middle. So I think that's really appealing to so many people, is that we don't go to that extreme or this extreme, we're just right.